myself, this being the last opportunity to be with you all as a group. I thought a lot about this in terms of 34 years at Our Lady Mercy School. And I've mentioned in previous meetings, you've heard me before about why I came here and how I came here. I'm not going to repeat all of that. But something, when I was informed that we were going to have a new master about a week or so ago, and we had a meeting with all of the staff in the morning, early morning, 7:30 in the morning, and where the staff was informed by the director of the society and Monsignor of the changes that were to come. And in that discussion, Monsignor said something that struck me very closely. He said at one point that he knew the school very well. He knew the preschool, the elementary, the middle, the high. He knew about the whole school. And I sat there and I thought, so do being 34 years here, and I can contribute a little bit more, I think, to that understanding. I don't know if you know this, I'm here 10 hours a day. I come at 6:30 in the morning to open the school, and then I'm here till 4:30. But when I was looking at the school that I understand and that I see in two perspectives. One from when the first day I walked in the door over here, there was no roof. There was no library. Where the library was, that was where all the nuns were housed. It was full of little bedrooms, the whole floor. There was no major library. The physical structure was different. It was a different time. It was the early 80s. But when I look at the school, and I'll start with the preschool. Our preschool has over 170 students. And some people don't understand the role of the preschool within the educational structure. It's probably the most important 5 years that the students spend when they begin their education. We always look at high school, chemistry, physics, biology, statistics. That's the end. The preschool is where it starts. This is where 2-year-old children come into school. By the time they're 5, believe it or not, we're able to put student teachers in senior kindergarten speaking only in English. It's where the young people learn the parameters, the social parameters that will guide the rest of their lives. To respect their teachers, to respect their friends, to work in groups, to have fun, to be creative, to scream, to sing, to yell and run. By the time they finish the preschool, they're ready for what we call formal education. That's a terrible word, formal. Jaijir, who is our principal for the middle school, I don't know if you know this, but she was honored several years ago by Advanced Ed, which is our accrediting agency, for having the best preschool of all the American schools in Brazil. Was it the physical setup of OLM? No. Our building is different. It's not big. We don't have lots of grass. We don't have soccer fields. We don't have Olympic swimming pools. We don't have libraries as big as this auditorium. But we have what is most important, as Socrates used to say, is the people. It's not the physical setup. It's the people who join us at Our Lady of Mercy School to lead you to your future. What drew me to this school at the very beginning was the value structure. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I was not Catholic when I came to OLM. My grandfather was a Methodist minister, and I lived with him through all of my adolescence.
with my mother singing church music on Sunday mornings. And my father was Amish Mennonite. And if you know what the Amish Mennonite are, I'll give you an example of the way I used to go to church. We'd go to church and there was a wall in the middle that separated the men from the women. We could not see each other. Mass, or cult, or whatever you want to call it, was 3 hours in German, and then 3 hours in English. We spent all Sunday morning sitting in church. What stayed from all of that were the values, the strong Christian values that religions, and these religions, the Christian religions, hold. And this is what drew me to a certain degree when I was invited years ago to OLM, when I was told this is a Catholic school. My first thing came to mind, Christian values. What I was brought up in. As a result of that, I don't know if you're kind of young, but the Peace Corps. Anybody know what the Peace Corps is? Has anybody heard of the Peace Corps? See how time flies. Back in the 1960s, university students could voluntarily offer their services to the world by joining what was called the Peace Corps under President Kennedy. We were taken from the universities and sent to training centers. I was trained in Washington, D.C. You know what I was trained to be? A midwife. Do you know what a midwife was? Or is? Partida. I was trained to be a partida. Because where I was going, there were no partidas. Where I was going to be stationed, there were no doctors. And we created a class for partidas. We graduated 50 partidas the first year with the help of doctors and we taught it. This was in this good son. We vaccinated 20,000 students against smallpox. We built schools that had gardens so they could have red because there was no support. So all the schools we built in it were built by the community. The families got together. We had night meetings. We built schools. We raised chickens. I learned how to raise well-bred chickens. We built bathrooms. They did not have bathrooms where we were. We built outhouses. You ever heard the term outhouse? It's that little cabine that's about 50 yards away from your house, becomes your bathroom. Because everybody was using the fields to go to the bathroom. My background in value structure brought me to that moment in my life. And then you grow, you change. Went to university. Did what we have to do at the university. And then got selected to be a professor in São Paulo, at Unicamp. And life changed me. Finally, I got an invitation to come to OLM. My first year here was with Jesuit priests. No, I'm sorry. Father Edgar was not Jesuit, he was Franciscan. He was the man who interviewed me and brought me to Our Lady of Mercy School. Then we had a Jesuit priest, Father Orlando Espín, who is now a professor at San Diego University in the United States. And being a Jesuit, if you know the Jesuits, and how they work with the poor, and how they sacrifice and have no salaries, and do everything to work for the community, we began the first community service program in American schools in Brazil. But folks, in those days, it was 350 hours. It was not 100 hours, seniors, 350 hours of community service before you could graduate. And hours done in the school did not count. All of the hours that had out in the community. So we had, years ago, we had 30 or 28 different agencies here in the city of Rio de Janeiro, where our seniors and juniors worked in hospitals with AIDS people, people with cancer. They worked in homes for the elderly. They worked in, what do we call it, nursery schools. They read to the elderly. They served the community. At one time, they worked in the evening here teaching computer skills to students from the subway, Dona Martha. They would come here in the evening, and the high school students would come in and teach them how to use computers. Community service, sharing, caring, not just talking about it, doing something about it. This is what kept me at Our Lady of Mercy School. Things change, society changes. We began to adapt, but the mission and the core values of the school always remained. Then we go to the elementary. I'm going to go all the way through, so be patient, don't fall asleep. Went to the elementary. The elementary school from 1st to 5th grade. We now have an outstanding elementary school with a new director, Ms. Vanderput, who's introducing the new methodology, or the latest methodology, in problem-based learning. We already have, for some of you may not know, 2 classrooms set up with lofts, desks at different heights, where you sit on pillows. That's physical. But the main thing is not that. The main thing is the most important person in the classroom is the student, not the teacher. It's what we call student-centered classrooms, not teacher-centered classrooms. Your parents are parents here today, and I'm sure some of them went what I went through. This was the image I had of my classmates when I went to school. The backs of their heads. And all I looked at was the face of the teacher. The teacher in those days used to call from Latin, Magister Dixit, the teacher says. If you study educational history, they say the teacher was the one with the book. Students didn't have the book. So the teacher would go in and open up the book and read, and students would write down what the teacher said. That's the way education is seen. That has changed. When you become the center, it's more fun, it's more challenging, and the skills you learn will last you the rest of your life. But when you're not used to it, you resist it, because you want the teacher standing at the front of the classroom, writing things on the blackboard so you can take notes. Copy the notes, put them in your notebook, study your notebook, take that test. The word regurgitate is a big word. Regurgitate means to vomit. To vomit is to, vomitar. Vomitar informação back to the teacher to show that you've learned something. The new methodology that's being applied in the elementary school changes that. We have one group that's building a bridge. It's in 3rd grade, it's building a bridge. 3rd grade. They have a task. They're going to have to build a bridge from the play area over to the auditorium. And they're going to be working with engineers, but they have to design it. They have to find all the problems, all the mathematics, all the angles, all the material that you need to build a bridge. The process they go through is what is most important. The bridge is an end result. We've already prepared 2 classrooms, 2 5th grades. They've already started. They have lofts in their classrooms. Their desks are 3 different heights. Mrs. Vanderput already has a design ready for the new 4th grade. And the classrooms will change for 4th grade next year, so they'll see there. if we continue with this process. But the elementary has grown, and we also, the dedication of your teachers. I don't know if you realize how many hours your teachers prepare before they go into class. They don't just walk into class and shoot from the hip. They spend hours collecting material. They spend hours preparing material, not to mention correcting it, finding some way to give you feedback. This is the work you never see done. You only see the result of all of their hard, dedicated work. Then we come to the middle school, Dr. Auler. Dr. Auler was able in 2 years to do a complete transformation of the middle school. The middle school was, I can say this, I'm a headmaster, the weakest part of the school. We analyze scores, we look at production, we look at how well kids work, but it was by far the weakest section in the school. In 2 years, Ms. Auler turned it around. Turned it completely around. When kids went into the middle school, all of a sudden our classes would drop down. 5 kids would leave, 6 kids would leave, 10 kids would leave and go off to another school. Today they don't leave. That creates a problem, because now they're going up to high school, and that makes bigger classes in the high school. But the middle school also works from problem-based. It's a continuation. And she was able to build a team, a work team of professionals that are extremely well prepared. And I'm not talking about the academics of learning facts. They're well prepared for mission and core values. They work as a team. They understand why OLM exists and what their role is as educators in the classroom. That's why I like it. I've said this before. I don't like the word teacher. I like the word educator. Because an educator is more than just teaching reading, writing, arithmetic. He's teaching you to be a citizen. He's teaching you to become aware of your values and use them when you make decisions. When I was a university professor, I used to require my students to do value clarification before they could graduate. So they knew exactly why they made the decisions they made. What was their value structure? You can do this in the high school. You can do this in the middle school. When you make that choice to go to that party, when you make that choice to go to this, whatever you're doing, smoke that marijuana, whatever it is that's being in front of you, you have to make a choice. That moment of choice is the moment when your values come forward. It's not what you say, it's what you do. It's very easy to say, I believe this, I believe that, but you don't show it in your daily behavior. It's what you show in your daily behavior are your true values. And that's why clarification of values is very important. That you understand why you think the way you think. And when you make decisions, they're on a strong value base. High school. I'm excited about the high school and the changes that Mr. Luis has placed, Mr. Freire. We were one of the first 1,000 schools in the entire world approved for the Capstone Research Program. Only 1,000 schools were approved. And this last year, our seminar group 100% passed the national exams in the United States. Everybody. We were the only school of all the American schools in Brazil that every student passed the test. Everyone. Now those juniors are seniors, and they're defending their theses this month. And for those who take 4 more courses, I believe it's 4 more advanced placement courses, they will receive another diploma. They'll receive the American diploma, the Brazilian diploma, and the Capstone Research Diploma. What does that mean? It means the competition getting into the better universities, if that's a concern, you're one step ahead. One step ahead. We have 17 graduating seniors here. Are all the seniors here today by any chance? Are seniors here? Can we stand up? Seniors, please stand up. These seniors deserve a round of applause. Some have been here since preschool. And one young lady, I'm going to name you, I know that's embarrassing, but I'm going to name you anyway, because this is the first time this has ever happened at OLM. One of our students received a $288,000 scholarship. That's $250,000 to go to the second-ranked university, which is Smith College in the United States. Julia Sosa. Julia has been here since preschool. She started in preschool. She learned her English in preschool. She learned her values in preschool. She is an honor society student. She plays all the sports in the world. She went to Munn. She went to Chile. She's been participating in all the academic things that we had. Not only that, all the sports activities. She was in the recent play, Dr. Doolittle. What we call a completely well-rounded student who has great friends, is respected by students and staff, and has a brilliant future, as others do too. I looked at all of the universities. I was very happy. There's two of you there that were accepted to Michigan State, right? Michigan State University. One of those is going to go, the others have decided to go somewhere else. But just for information, it's my alma mater. When you go to American University, the first university you go to becomes your alma mater, your mother's soul, and that stays with you for the rest of your life. I graduated from Michigan State back in '66 when we were national champions in football. So if you like sports, the stadium of Michigan State seats 76,000 people. 76,000 students go to a football game on Saturday morning. Not to mention the basketball court that seats 25,000. It's a big university with 40,000 students going. Our students have chosen some of the best universities in the world, or in the United States, and some in England. This is an exciting graduating class that has dedicated itself and shows what you can do if you take advantage of what is offered to you, if you follow the norms, the values that we believe in Our Lady of Mercy School. All these doors will open. Then you just choose the one you want. Now I've said this before. Don't close doors. Never close a door. Leave them all open, because you never know what's going to come in front of you, what opportunities are going to appear. This year, $780,000 were given in scholarships to this graduating class. Almost $1 million. Different universities, different areas, everything from medicine to engineering. And Zeno, where's Zeno? Zeno. One of our first students is going to be an actor. He's been accepted in an acting school in the United States. Let me just say something about this, and I'm getting to the arts. I'm starting to take this so long, but this is my last chance. When I first came here, one of the concerns of the parents and the Board of Education was all the students had to be doctors.
all had to be in the exact science. This is back in the 80s. Everybody was scientists. And then we hired a very young 19-year-old math teacher, Betch Frady. Betch? Is she here now? Betch? Betch Frady. She introduced the strongest math program the school has ever seen. And we judge that by what? The test that you take. The test that you take on SAT and the AP tests, things of this nature showing that the kids who are focused on math, and not everybody is, I was not, I took algebra 2 twice. I had to go to summer school. I'm not a math person. But for those who are math people, they had the opportunity through the years of building up the math program. It doesn't start one day, it doesn't start 2 days or 3 years. Years of building up the math program. And we finally got there. Our science program built up. Biology with Hakkara just bloomed. Okay, now we have our new one. Today we have our new physics and chemistry teachers that are also bringing new ways of looking at this. But there's another side of the brain. This is all the right side of the brain. Educators study the brain. And we study the left and the right side of the brain. Did you know that? Did you know we have to study the brain? The right side of the brain is more of the cognition and what we call science area. The left side of the brain is sometimes referred as the humanity side. For those of you who like to read, to write, to sing, to play instruments, to make a different life using your left side. There's a balance between the two. It's not left or right. We have both. But we have preferences to which side we're on. In the last few years, with the help of the art department, with Marcel Kamala, Alini Isaacson, Monica Mershek, Therese Silvestri, and Eduarda Studert, have raised significantly the focus on this side of the brain. For the first time in the history of the school, if you had an opportunity to see the play Dr. Doolittle this last weekend, we had 800 people here for the show. We had to make reserved seats because there were so many people. The year before was the same thing, but the year before that, if we had 50 people coming to see a production, we were happy. The whole culture is shifting. People are starting to respect that students have multiple skills, what we call multiple intelligences. They have different ways of expressing themselves. Our job as educators to open up the doors and give you the space to express yourself. I was so happy to see Mr. Lima playing the drums. Really, that was a surprise, Mr. Lima. And that was great, because there was another space for people to show them what they can do. Resource Center. Research Center, some of you never see. Because you're so-called average students, regular, no problems, etc. But the Research Center is a key part of the school for those students who have some sort of difficulty. But with support, they can overcome the difficulties. Whether it's language or whether it's learning. We have 40 diagnosed special needs students in OLM. Some of you don't even know who they are. The teachers do. They prepare what are called IEPs. They prepare programs especially for these children, and they all graduate. They all graduate from school. Nobody is held back. The language group works to improve the language, that's one whole section, but the special needs groups works with all of our students who are diagnosed
as students who need special needs. This is one of the parts that also drew me to Our Lady of Mercy School because of its inclusion objectives. Not eliminating people, giving everybody a chance. But to do that, the staff has to be ready to help. The last area I'd like to talk about is the religion area. That I was impressed, as I've told Monsignor before, when I first came to Our Lady of Mercy School, our masses were only in the chapel. That's how many students we had. We never had anything out here. So we were home, all our masses were in the chapel. Sometimes we opened the doors and invaded the cafeteria. But everything was done there. If we had 10% of our student body taking communion, we were happy. If you look today at those of you, we have at least 90% of the people in this room went through communion. That is a significant difference towards the mission and the core values of Our Lady of Mercy School. The work that this religion department has done through its classes, its brotherhood days, the activities that they create, the community service programs they do, has drawn the students towards the values. Do they run around with a sign that's saying, we're teaching this, we're teaching that, we're teaching... No. It's through action. It's through practice. And believe me, it can be very taxing. But they don't give up. The shift in the school in terms of being a Catholic school, a Christian school, has been significant over the last 10 years. With Monsignor's presence and also the work of a highly trained, highly motivated religion department. I hope I have not missed anybody, and if I've missed any group, I apologize. But I would like to say, as I'm leaving OLM, how much I've appreciated the opportunity of being here. This is a career. Okay, 34 years, and you move on. With my 5 dogs, and doing what I want to do the rest of my life, giving speeches next week, and doing other types of things. But the 34 years, I felt I have met my mission. And folks, there's nothing better than feeling that you've accomplished your goals. You work your entire life towards something. And if you can reach your goals, or get goals to it, the satisfaction is very strong. And it ends someday. Sometimes you have to go. And someone is going to take over. The young man who's coming in, just for your information, I met him 2 years ago. He applied for work here at OLM. I interviewed him. We didn't have any vacancies at the time. He was coming from the British school. But we had no vacancies at the time in his area. But now that opened up. And so he's going to be able to join us. We'll be going through what is called a transition period. Tomorrow, I have lunch with him, with the administrative staff. And after that, we're going to discuss the transition where you as teachers and students will get to meet the new headmaster, hopefully ask questions, get to know who he is before you leave school, and not be surprised when you come back on the first day of school in August. You need to meet him before school ends. But he's working right now, so we have to work schedules that when he's here, and quite frankly, I didn't know I was leaving so soon, and I'm traveling. So I'm not going to be here very much longer. I travel next month. So we're going to have to work on a transition period that is convenient as possible for him and for all of the staff here. The very last item I'd like to point out is, and I'm sitting over here, is the PTA. Parent-Teacher Association. 34 years here. I can say this in all fairness and honesty. The best PTA we've ever had in 34 years. Our president is right there. Please stand. This is our president of PTA. We've had lots of PTAs and they've done excellent jobs. I'm not undoing the previous work of PTAs. But the new focus that they're bringing into the school school administration makes a huge difference in the success that you have here. Because they're working for you. They're working for a better school, better opportunities for you, and they're working hard. And they're working very hard. So congratulations to you. This is the last item. This is the last item. I have to recognize and thank the board of the Society of Our Lady of Mercy. Some of you don't know how the structure is. I'm going to explain it in two phrases. This school was maintained and created by the Society of Our Lady of Mercy, which will celebrate 100 years in September. The school did not appear until the 1950s. Before that, the Society had other activities. The school appeared in the 1950s, and as it grew, it became a key thing for the Society. But society is redesigning itself so that it's not just the school, but it has other things that they can do for society. This year, after a lot of work, the Society created a Board of Education. And the Board of Education is the one that administratively I respond directly to the Board of Education. They respond to the Society of Our Lady of Mercy. And so the Board of Education, whose sole focus is you, the school, facilities, everything from buildings to programs, to policies, to whatever we're doing, the Board of Education. And they're still getting their wage. They've only been functioning since January. But they're well on their way. So we have two boards. A Board of Education, and they're all parents in school, I think. And a Board of the Society, which are either parents or their kids graduated from OLM. So my last message is to you all, don't give up. You are going to run into so many challenges, and you get depressed, and you think it's not worth it, and that you wasted your time, and nobody loves you, and nobody's helping you. But look at yourself, think of who you are and how strong you are, that you can overcome this. You don't need everybody around you. You don't need to be friends with everybody. You need to be friends with yourself. You need to be true to yourself and your core values. And this is the strong part of OLM, is the core values that we get through our mission statement. The Christian core values are, believe me, are going to help you. You may not believe it now, maybe think, yeah, okay, well, shut up, you've talked too much. But I guarantee you, when you get in your 30s, when you get in your 40s, and as you even get older, it all comes back. It all becomes to make sense. And you're lucky because you're getting a good sound base. You may not remember it now. You may think this is all a bunch of bull, as they say, but it's not. This is definitely going to come back. And it's going to come back to favor you, and not only you, society, because you're a member of society, and you're going to have to teach society, which right now, folks, look at what society is going through. How many are happy with what's going on? Not many of us. It's going to be you people who's going to change this. Through your votes, through the groups that you go join, the actions that you take. You can change all this. You can change every bit of it. We're still so-called a democracy. But you've got to be aware of your values and what you are willing to sacrifice for. I remember, I never am. However, this is the end. Values clarification. I'll never forget this when they were teaching how to do values clarification. They said, we're good at verbalizing, saying what we believe. Then we turn around and do something else. You put them in a difficult position, and then they have to make that decision. And when they make that choice between one or two, That's when your true value comes out. Whether you like it or not. Whether you like the value that you discover that you have, at least you know what it is. And you know that that's what's helping you make the decision that you're making so you can do it. So I wish you all the very best. This is our last Mass. We have the award ceremony this Friday. Then we have 4 graduations, senior dinner, best shooting. We have a lot of parties coming up before the school ends. And we hope that you all end this academic year on an up note and have a great time. There's a lot of fun things coming up. Take advantage of the time that you're here. Thank you very much.
Clap your hands, all.
Entender OLM, escutando. Escutando o doutor, escutando os pais, escutando os alunos, escutando os funcionários. E aí a gente não entende com a mente, a gente começa a entender com o coração. Isso é fundamental. E nós vamos pedir nesse momento, então, que ela, a dona desta casa,